Welcome to the Jedi Matrix show, the Jedi MatriXmen show. We're back, 2020. Haven't done this show in many years, but this is a serious thing that's happening, so we got to get on top of this as much as possible. Normally, I would do a documentary or a longer video or something more pre-produced, but because of the time constraints with all of the stuff and still trying to keep people alive, I'm just gonna do this live like a mix. I'm just gonna throw stuff in there and help you guys understand what's going on. So with that, welcome to the quarantine zone, Jedi MatriXmen show. We're gonna bust it up.
A breach has been found in the quarantine zone.
Give me a second here. Okay, so we are back in action here. There it is. So basically, I'm gonna give you the whole breakdown of what my research has shown me, where everything is and what's happening, and then I'm going to show you. I'm gonna let the professionals speak, the doctors, the scientists, and the people who have documented stuff. So I can't go in a particular order, so I'm just gonna just hit things so everything will be connected together towards the end, and you could pick and choose the information you need. And later, if you want the full information, I have most of these videos and documentaries I'm getting from these authors and producers are a couple hours long. The documents are like 20 to 100 to a couple hundred pages long, so it's a lot of stuff. So that's why I can't just do it in one shot. So I would have to do either a series of videos or a couple of big part 1s, 2s, and 3s. But I'm just going to do this just to get it out there, because I know a lot of people have been waiting for this and trying to get it all around it. So without any further ado, the whole thing with this is I've been treating people for chemical pneumonia for years. And the chemical pneumonia is actually in a CDC. So you can look up the CDC for chemical pneumonia. And with the chemical pneumonia, that is coming from all this geoengineering chemtrail spraying. Now, I'm just going to tell you what's going on first, and I'm going to show you the documents and all the stuff you need to see that. So if you just hang in there, you can see the documents, and you can decide to put your hands in your ears and ignore it, and the world will still be in quarantine and people will still die whether you ignore it or not. Or you could decide you want to be proactive, get yourself together, healthy, your family together, healthy, and friends together. And the easiest thing to stop this is just for people to wake up and say no. It'll be over with in like a day or so. If everyone just stood up and say no more of this poison, no more of these lies, that would be it. No war, no fighting, no bleeding. That will be it. So that's the hardest thing to understand, is why people just can't wake up and just say no and stop this. But they take the long way around and they just believe everything the mainstream media tells them. So we're going to hit all those points. So basically, the way this situation is, you have the geoengineering chemtrails. They've been spraying this since the longest I can remember, actually. One of the original documents, one of them are 1997. That's when the document came where we gave them permission through the Congress to do this. So basically, where we at today with the Earth shutdown is they've been spraying the chemical pneumonia, and it's been causing all the symptoms that you see with the Super C virus. I'm going to call it the Super C virus. So all of the symptoms are similar to the chemical pneumonia, but the difference is, and I told people for years, that at some point these things are going to be so elevated that a lot of the solutions I do is going to have to shift to keep up with it, because they will go for a kill formula. And the reason they will go for a kill formula is if they're going to be in trouble, or if they can get busted, or they can get arrested. You can research all that stuff, that there's indictments out for them already. So if that happens, or if they just get behind and they want to expedite their program, they would go for the kill formula. Now, some of my associates mentioned that, well, they can't do the kill formula because people will be dying in the streets, and then they would have to answer to that immediately. And I say, yeah, but it would have to be a desperate situation if they did that. So now you see where we're at. So for them to do a full kill formula with the current chemtrail that's been sprayed all over the world right now, they would have to have an excuse on why people are dying at the same time. So you already got everybody poisoned, and this stuff stays in your body and it builds up, and they just stack it, and stack it, and then they just add that final kill to it, and then people just start dropping. So you spray the world, and then you allow this one virus that you already manufactured to be released in a certain part of the world. Then you tell everyone everybody's sick. So you take all of the deaths from the chemical pneumonia that's been going on for years. Look it up on the CDC. The chemical pneumonia that's been off the chart from the flu. So it's a chemical flu and pneumonia. It's been off the chart. So you take all the numbers from that no one has been paying attention to, and you take part of those numbers from that chemically induced flu and pneumonia, then you add them to the coronavirus. Then you can look at all the stuff where they're changing the death certificates and all this other stuff to get the numbers up. Now, they thought they would have the numbers up. I won't get into that because it gets political and it's just another thing. But you do have a deep state, and you do have the patriots, and these guys are at war trying to fight. And the end game is they just want the people. So if you wake up, you won't be the sheeple and the people to be eaten by this whole plan of poison and slavery. So you spray the world. Everyone's already been sick. If you look at all the records going back to probably even the last 10 years, and the deaths for people who've been dying from pneumonia and complications. And now the CDC finally had to admit for the doctors, because the doctors are like, why are all these people sick? But they're not sick. Why they have these respiratory problems and chest problems and bronchial problems and everything else, but there's no virus, because a virus is not a poison. A poison is a poison. So you can't treat a poison with antibiotics, and you could drink all the apple juice and natural juice and vegetables and everything you want, but if someone comes and shoots you with a gun in the chest, none of that's going to remove that bullet, because you've been shot with an invasive, non-natural thing, so that has to be treated a different way. So with all of these chemicals they're spraying, with the aluminum, the barium, the lithium, all the toxic metals and sulfuric acid, I got a whole list of that as well, and you can get a copy of that. With all of these things that they're spraying, you're not just going to drink one thing that's natural or unnatural. You're going to have to use a combination of treatments, because now they step the kill formula up. Now, this manufactured Super C virus has been a bioweapon. So they released that, and also they released these things called nanoparticles, nanotechnology, NANO, like nano. They released these nanoparticulates. They're very thin powders. You can't see them. You'll see some of the pictures where I'm showing you the haze when it looks like it's a rainy day, but it's no rain, but it's a gray haze, black haze, purple haze. It's like a song. You look at the sky, you see all this, and that's from the chemical reaction. It's not just a beautiful day, a beautiful sky. A lot of people, when Kobe Bryant died, they looked up at the sky and said, wow, why is the sky purple? It's for Kobe. Not really. The sky is purple from the poison made it purple. So it's kind of like a beautiful death. You know, you see beauty before you die. But that poison is what's been giving people what they say allergies, coughs, and everything else. A lot of people have been complaining about this for years, all ages. So I'll show you the documentations and all of the videos and stuff. So that's the whole plan. You poison everybody, you spray the nanoparticles as well as the viral particles that they created and loaded all the planes up. That's why you see the stuff when you'll see in the videos all through the sky all the time. And then the people breathe that in, and then you go to the doctor, you get the vaccines. The vaccines have the same higher dose of the poison in your body. They put you in a data bank. You could just listen to what the Gates Foundation and everyone is talking about. They put you in a data bank. They control you where you go, and if you refuse the vaccine, you won't work, you can't drive, you can't do anything else. So you can refuse, but you just will be cut off from society, mobility. They change the money, they crash the system down. Which you see the stock market is going up and down. They crash that down and switch that over to a digital currency. So you got to have your vaccine card, you got to have your digital currency card, and so forth. All this stuff, I'm not going to show you all of the videos. It would take a week to watch. And I know a lot of you don't even want to watch a minute to an hour to even whatever, something like that. But your life depends on this, your future depends on this, because with the nanotechnology, along with the viral technology, the nanotechnology will create within itself certain viruses at will, and you'll see, I'll show you a little bit of that. So with that, I'm just going to go right into it, and then later I'll do a longer, expansive video of it, or maybe just series, or maybe a Q&A and so forth, and we'll see how that goes. So let me load this up, and then we'll get popping here. A second.
I don't know how many of you actually have nebulizers, but I want to talk about how important iodine is. Iodine to me is one of, if I was to pick one thing that I would take with me that has multiple uses, it would be iodine. Now, I've been doing radio interviews during this time, TV interviews. Some of them are censored. Most of them are censored on YouTube because we started talking about solutions, real solutions. But iodine, this is something that anyone can type in Google and look at the clinical trials and the studies that have been done. As a matter of fact, I think it was 1910 or 1911 Encyclopedia Britannica was even recommending 600 milligrams of iodine, and the studies show that it was extremely successful against viruses and syphilis and all kinds of other things. Myself and many other natural healthcare practitioners, we use iodine not only for skin conditions, we use it for thyroid, we use it for endocrine disorders. Every single cell in the body requires iodine. And some of these theories that are out there regarding 5G, and 5G was launched, just to let everybody know kind of what's going around on the dark web. 5G, I've been severely against 5G, and I've been fighting against the harmful EMFs with smart meters. I was in big arguments with our local power companies here in Houston because I knew the negative effects of electromagnetic radiation a long time ago, and many other people did too. Masaru Emoto, if you haven't read the book Secrets of Water by Masaru Emoto, look into that, because harmful EMFs affect the water in our body. And water is everything. All living substances are composed of water. And when you start breaking the crystalline structure of water, then the cells can't communicate and everything starts breaking down. People thought I was crazy 5 years ago when I was, getting smart meters and getting cell phone chips and trying to prevent the harmful radiation. And I've been very against the implementation of 5G. 5G is a millimeter wave. It's extremely strong. It's almost the equivalent of the airport scanners, which, by the way, I've been telling people never go through those airport scanners either. And I've had to have many pat downs, and my kids and family have had to have many pat downs because we refuse to go through those things and opt out all the time. So how do you protect yourself against all this harmful radiation? Well, the World Health Organization posted on their website that electromagnetic frequency hypersensitivity syndrome actually exists. Wow. We've been saying that with anecdotal evidence for 10, 15 years, and people have been complaining when they put the smart meters in ever since cell phones came out. Brain cancer gone up 60%, ovarian cancer, all kinds of other stuff. What can you do to protect yourself? What can you do to protect yourself against all this radiation? Well, they have all kinds of different things, clothing. I actually buy the radiation-proof clothing as well when I travel and put it on to protect myself from the radiation in the planes. However, just recently, over the last 6 months, and I'm talking about all this, I know I kind of go every which way when when I'm talking. I just usually say what comes into my mind because I'm passionate about it, and I want people to understand and know about it. There's a lot of good evidence out there right now. I'm not saying, I'm 100% on the conspiracy side, but if you start looking at, the Spanish flu in 1918, we had changes in the electromagnetic frequencies of the Earth. Every single pandemic, we had some sort of introduction or change in the electromagnetic frequencies of the planet. And some of these doctors, and even, not even a research scientists, are starting to say that this might have something to do with the coronavirus. And Wuhan was actually the first city that implemented this strong 5G. And New York also has strong 5G, and you're starting to see a lot of the similarities. Now, how that weakens the immune system and how that can be contributed possibly to the coronavirus is the fact that radiation causes cell poisoning. We all know that. When the cells become poisoned, they start releasing viral particles that they might be holding and RNA fragments. Well, just so you guys know, all these coronavirus test kits, there's no test kit right now that tests for the coronavirus itself. These test kits test for RNA fragments. Okay, so let's say that you are having cell poisoning and your cells are secreting RNA fragments. You can have a positive test or you can have a negative test. So it's something to think about. I'm not moving over there and saying, yes, this is one of the reasons why, but I would definitely...
Yeah, it's very important we communicate what we're doing to the public. We're very interested in making sure everyone knows what we're doing. We're not, we're a civilian space agency dedicated to science and research and so on. So we're very keen to make sure that the taxpayers know what we're doing and everything. So
well, when the article came out in the major newspapers, including the Huffington Post, there was no mention of lithium. Not one mention of lithium until I heard the recording of the actual. I listened to it. I listened to the rockets go off. I had no idea there was going to be a lithium dispersed until I heard payload lithium dispersed.
Good indicators of chemical deploys. And lithium on Terry improved Rhine have been deployed.
Okay.
RSO TDOSS request to declare the area clear and release the roadblocks.
TD concurs if RSO does.
RSO concurs.
Oh, it copies. The science team reports out that they do see the lithium trails. These lithium trails allow them to look at the winds and of the ionosphere, and these winds are believed to be the carriers of the dynamic.
Well, make sure everyone knows that we see the lithium from the airplane.
Roger that.
What you just heard was an excerpt of a telephone call that Madison Star Moon made to NASA, asking NASA about the chemtrails and lithium being sprayed. They admit that they are spraying lithium, and lithium appears at night, red, pink colors in our sky. What I want to ask all of you is, the video that you will see of mine in a few minutes, do you see this color in your skies? Because I see it often here, and I absolutely do believe that they are spraying lithium quite often into our atmosphere, and this is a very, very dangerous soft metal that they are spraying. But here on NASA, on their own site, microdust weaponry, a mechanical analog to micron-sized mechanized dust, which is distributed as an aerosol and inhaled into the lungs. Dust mechanically bores into lung tissue and executes various pathological missions, a wholly new class of weaponry which is legal on NASA's site. You know, a lot of people will say, oh, well, it's legal, so they have the right to do this. You are breathing in this dust. Legal does not mean it's right, does not mean it is moral. our entire environment has become weaponized against us. But I guess an awful lot of people just believe, well, if Congress has legislated this to be legal, okay, well, what? You go along with it? When they're using this against you as a weapon, they're killing you, and it's fine because it's legal? Wow, all right. I posted a video, lithium in tap water, lithium chemtrail spraying, highly flammable, and causes many symptoms. I included in that video this article, Lithium and the Experiment over Oregon, which was posted in 2015. And if you want to know about the experiment over Oregon, click on the link below and watch that video. What I want to get to is the symptoms of lithium. It does not take much. Actually, a small amount can affect people, fetuses, everybody having their own constitution. There are people who are allergic to lithium. Very small dose can have severe adverse effects on them. But lithium is a metal. It's the softest of all metals, relatively inexpensive to mine. Lithium refined is highly reactive and flammable. Lithium will ignite and burn in oxygen when exposed to water or water vapors. It is highly conductive of both heat and electricity, and this is why it is now being widely used in geoengineering to increase electric conductivity as a desiccant, a drying agent, and to increase volatility in forest fires. So when you hear mainstream media and firefighters, those reporters, the firefighters, talking about how these fires are just, they suddenly are out of control, they can't seem to fight them anymore. You hear Jerry Brown saying this is the new normal because of climate change. This is the new normal because they are making everything highly flammable with the spraying of these heavy metals, lithium, spraying it into the atmosphere. It falls down upon everything, our trees, and boom. Symptoms of lithium exposure: very small doses. It causes birth defects. Lithium passes through breast milk and can harm the baby. For some individuals, even the smallest dose of lithium as a drug can be highly debilitating, and some people react allergically. And there is no antidote for lithium overdose. Lethargy: you feel heavy and drugged. Thirst: you become quickly dehydrated, especially if overheated. You crave salt. Stomach distress: diarrhea, constipation, sudden weight gain, muscle joint pain, twitching of hands and head, sometimes the whole body, loss of appetite, you can't taste your food, slurred speech, blurred vision, confusion, hallucinations, imitation goiter, looks like thyroid malfunction, impotence, endocrine disruption causing severe menstruation, periods, stomach can swell up as if you're pregnant, kidney pain, acne, severe skin rashes, sunburn, hair loss. So, tell me, are you seeing this in your sky? Are you experiencing any of the symptoms that I just read? Because I sure am. So look at all of that nice pink stuff and those bizarre, what are they, clouds? Really? Oh, wow. So this I see often here, that pink stuff floating around up there in our atmosphere, falling down, that we are breathing in. And you can see all of the microwave frequencies right there. The microwave frequencies also dry out the atmosphere, dry up life. Wasn't sure what that was, so I zoomed in. It kind of looked like an odd, scary monster in the sky. But look at all of it. I'm quite sure that that is lithium. You need to detox. You need to detox an awful lot. It's imperative to get these metals, chemicals out of our system. I don't see how we can possibly survive without detoxing every day. Every day at this point. So, yeah, please leave comments below. Are you seeing this? Are they spraying an awful lot of lithium into the atmosphere that we are breathing and getting sick from? There really are no words to describe what this world has become.
There's no question about the fact that Mockingbird is real. It started out paying journalists in major media, Pulitzer Prize winning journalists, to print fake stories that the CIA wanted in the press and fake interviews. And this was revealed in the Church Committee.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal?
We do have people who submit pieces to two American journals.
And of course then the CIA destroyed the rest of the files, which is what they do. George H.W. Bush came out and finally made the statement about Mockingbird. Well, we're going to officially stop the Mockingbird program. The CIA will no longer pay journalists to write stories. From now on, the program is voluntary, which means Mockingbird continues today. When's the last time you've seen a mainstream media outlet do a serious investigative report on the actions of the CIA? There's a reason for that.
This would mean that the CIA could manipulate the news in the United States by channeling it through some foreign country. And we're looking at that very carefully.
Would you say that continues today?
Well, I would think probably for a reporter it would continue today, but because of all of the revelations of the period of the 1970s, it seems to me that a reporter's got to be much more circumspect in doing it now, or he runs the risk of at least being looked at with considerable disfavor by the public. I think you've got to be much more careful about it.
Platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 I'm Dr. Monica Mahajan, Consultant Internal Medicine at Max Healthcare. Normally when we talk of pneumonias, we would think of viruses and bacteria causing the same, but the current situation in Delhi is such that we're talking of chemical pneumonia. The high level of pollutants in the air and the particulate matter enter our respiratory tract and they cause an inflammation or swelling in the breathing tract. As a consequence of that, most people are experiencing symptoms including a dry, irritating cough, runny or a congested nose, irritation in the eyes. You have to be beware of symptoms if they are causing an extreme breathing difficulty or a wheezing sound when you breathe. Children and elderly, people with underlying asthma, heart and kidney disorders are especially prone to the same. It would lead to inflammation in the tissues or an irritation in the tissues, and secondary to that, when the bacteria enter into our system, it would result in a secondary bacterial infection. If you have overwhelming symptoms, then it is important that you go to your doctor immediately and seek medical aid. At the same time, personal protective measures including masks and not venturing outdoors during the pollution season is highly recommended.
Chimeric research basically means that they're taking a naturally occurring substance or virus, in this case, and then mutating it, genetically modifying it, changing the configuration morphologically to gain function. It's called a gain of function study or gain of function research. And that basically means that they're making something that already may have some potential to cause harm, making it more harmful, making it more virulent, making it more resistant. And basically that's what I found, that they took the SHC014 strain of the coronavirus, the surface antigen component, and brought in the backbone from the SARS coronavirus, put them together, and then inserted HIV and MERS orthologs on top of it to make a more virulent, more detrimental virus. Now, the thing is that
if I could jump in for just a moment here, because what I think you're talking about is the moratorium that was placed, and then $3.7 million from the National Institute of Health was transferred to China so they could continue this research, even though the moratorium. So they basically outsourced this research to China. Is this the same topic we're talking about here? This news is just breaking?
Yes, this is exactly right. So it goes back to 2014. The U.S. government decided, based upon certain virologists at that time, saying that, look, there's no justification for this kind of research. There's a potential for it to cause harm, cause a pandemic, so there's no justification for us to do this type of research. So the government passed a moratorium in 2014. Fauci approved budgets to be, monies to be sectioned for this type of research. So basically, and I'm getting really, every time I think about this, it gets me really flustered because I'm so angry that he basically broke the law. He more than broke the law. He created this entire cascade that we're seeing with the world shutdown was created by this initial aspect back in 2015. He broke the law. He went against government moratoriums. He took taxpayer money and he funded research that has now led to the COVID-19. In 2017, he was documented at Georgetown University saying that there will be a pandemic that this presidency will face, that this term will face. How did he know that in 2017 that something was going to happen in 2018, 19, or 2020? There's no, you can't predict the market from 3 days from today, what's going to happen. How did he know that there was going to be a pandemic? He stated the president of this president will face a pandemic. The exact quotes, I don't want to say the exact words. You guys have the video footage. My point is that when somebody starts making these type of statements, and then they were involved with the breaking of the law to fund the research that American taxpayers paid for, that then goes to Wuhan and now trying to create this diversion and say that it's China. God, I don't know whether it came from China or released in China, whether it was already released here. It's irrelevant. The complicity of what's going on right now, whether it was released in China or whether it was already here or however it happened, the U.S. system has condoned it, has jumped on it. They're opportunistic. They're shutting down the economy when they know, in fact, that there's no basis. I mean, there's no virus that leaves 6 feet or 12 feet. Now they're saying 13 feet. complete misinformation. And I'm sorry that you've pulled the chain on me right now, but the mainstream media, when the Surgeon General came out and said that basically the Gates model, the Fauci model, the World Health Organization model was not going to be followed anymore, and they were going to look at the actual data, the actual numbers, the mainstream media didn't respond at all. All they said was, it seems like we're going to be going to 2022 before people can assemble together. That's what ABC put out. And Fox, or was it New York Post put out, it seems like that the 6 feet of social distancing is not going to be sufficient. It needs to go to 13 feet. There is no virus, bacteria that jumps 13 feet. It's just, it defies every logical aspect of science and medicine. And what really, really pisses me off is that there are thousands, tens of thousands of doctors and scientists out there that know that this is a fraud, and they're not saying anything. Either one, they're scared of social ostracization because they're going to be called out, or social shaming, or they're afraid of that they're going to lose their license. For God's sake, this is changing the planet, and every scientist and every doctor that knows this to be a facade needs to open their mouth and speak. There is every aspect of science has just been literally picked up, thrown in the toilet, and flushed down. It's like everybody's ignoring it. The fundamental aspects of how the human system works is being ignored. Physiology is being just put in the garbage bin. Every aspect of virology and infectious disease is being ignored. Koch's postulate has been ignored. Every aspect. Then you've got false positives coming from testing that we know is not adequate, and then the testing that they are doing, like the RT-PCR, the real-time polymerase chain reaction testing, that's already been shown. It was actually the guy who developed it in the 1980s, Mullis, said that you cannot use this testing for diagnostic purposes. You have to use it only for the where something has a genomic sequence that's already been identified. You can't use it for diagnosis. Yet they're using it for diagnosis, and when that's not enough to justify the number of deaths that they've created this pandemic for, they're causing doctors and nurses to go back and change the death certificates to say COVID-19 is the first cause of death. And if that's not enough, now their mandate's been sent to every state, every doctor from every state medical board saying that there's no necessity to test. I got a letter like this myself. If they have symptoms, send them home. And then the mandate of listing the cause of death is COVID-19. The media propagating footage of hospitals and from one country to another country using the same footage, the same person dying multiple times, use of mannequins to show that the people are dying, and yet they can't even show ambulances that are doing anything. They're all parked. They're all sitting there. People are playing chess. They're playing card games because they're so idle. Nurses are being laid off right now because there's not enough work. But they're pushing this agenda of fear, fear, fear. The fear-mongering itself will increase your adrenal output, will cause more stress, more emotional distraught. The emotional aspect, one side, now you're talking about the financial aspect. People are going to get stressed. Guess what that does? It reduces your immune system and makes you susceptible to viruses, bacteria, to many other things. But then to create this illusion over something like COVID-19, which nobody has yet demonstrated a single death from the actual virus, from the proper, established, accepted methodology that a virus has caused this death. Nobody's been able to do that. It's all based upon PCR testing. And Gary, I don't know whether you know this or not, all the way back to 1984, all the way up to now, 2018, there are multiple studies that show that if you've had the flu shot, especially the trivalent flu shot, false positives on COVID-19 testing. God knows what's been injected into people over the years. They really want to know cause of death. I want to know how many of these people that are supposedly died from COVID-19, which, by the way, still the numbers are less than the seasonal flu. The number of deaths are still less than the seasonal flu. But I want to know how many of these people that died of supposed COVID-19 actually had a history of a vaccination, an adult vaccination in the last 10 years. That's what I want to know, because the studies clearly show that if you've had a flu shot, you're going to test positive for COVID-19. So you got all this other stuff that's going on. They can't justify the numbers, so they're going to change the death certificates. They can't justify the numbers, so they're going to take different footage of different people and then attribute that to COVID-19. They just had, CBS had that nurse that was crying, saying, please give me a face mask so that I can take care of people, and I don't want to risk my family getting them infected. And then they find out that she's hasn't worked in a hospital in a year and a half, and she's some kind of a social media model. The amount of misrepresentation, deception, diversion tactics to keep the public from knowing the truth, it's just unbelievable. So I cannot believe.
So let's take it back to what you said at the beginning.
Guys over here, Public Law 105-85, established November 18th, 1997, the same time the chemtrails have started appearing in the skies overhead, and it's gotten considerably worse over the last 5 to 10 years. Definitely dumping a lot more on us right now. Here is a public law 105-85 simply states, and I'm going to scroll down, and I got a lot of more information here for you all to definitely prove to you, beyond a reasonable doubt, that they are spraying this stuff. These are chemical, biological agents. It is biowarfare being carried out on American people as I speak. As I speak, they're in my sky. Okay, now I'm going to scroll down here. I got this report. I got the information. This is public law, so anybody can view it. But not everybody knows how to find it. But they do consider this, being that this is public law, as a consent by the American people for the carry out of this project. Now, you can read this right here. I'm going to click on it. I'm sorry, I just passed it. Restrictions on the use of human subjects for testing of chemical and biological agents. Now, it says here, prohibited activities. The Secretary of Defense may not conduct directly or by contract any test experiment involving use of chemical or biological agent on a civilian population. Now, okay, you're saying, okay, well, that says you can't. But if you scroll down here, informed consent required. Informed consent required. Secretary of Defense may conduct a test or experiment described in subsection B, as we just talked about. Okay, only in informed consent to the testing was obtained from each human subject in advance of the testing on that subject. Now again, being that this is public law, they consider this a human consent. Prior notice to Congress, no later than 30 days after the date of final approval with the Department of Defense, DOD, of plans for any experiment or study to be conducted by DOD, whether directly or under contract, involving the use of human subjects for the testing of a chemical agent or a biological agent. Folks, we are being sprayed. The Secretary of Defense shall submit to the Committee on Armed Services of the Senate and the Committee on National Security of the House of Representatives to report setting forth a full accounting of those plans, which I'm sure they have by now. And the experiment or study may then be conducted only after the end of the 30-day period. Well, I'm sure that's long expired. On the date such report is received by those committees. Biological agent defined. In this section, the term biological agent means microorganisms, including bacteria, fungi. Those of you that live in Joplin. Viruses, there it is, fungi. See it right there. Whatever this is, rickettsia, and another disease there, pathogens or infectious substance or any natural occurring bioengineering or synthesized component of any such microorganism, pathogen or infectious substance, whatever is origin or method of production that is capable of causing, now this is very alarming, death, disease, or other biological malfunctions, right there, death, disease, malfunction, any other biological malfunctions in a human or animal, or plant, or another living organism. Think of some of these animals dying, folks. Deterioration of food, water, equipment, supplies, or materials of any kind. Contaminating our food supply. Then it says alteration of the environment. You see this? Alteration of the environment. Report of certification, section 1703 of the National Defense, DOD, authorization for the fiscal year 1994. This is going back. Now, I wanted to show you this. I also want to show you this. U.S. allows testing of chemical and biological agents on civilian populations. Now, this is the Public Law 105-85. You're seeing right here, dated November 18, 1997, use of human subjects for testing of chemical or biological agents. Sections 1708, restrictions on the use of humans, pardon me, subject.
This lady that's right here, that's speaking and giving information. These are the highlights. This is what's coming forward. I'm going to make another video of 2 more scheduled for you. And what Jose has shared from the European perspective is even scarier than what I'm showing you right here. So the bullet points on what the lady's going to share, the links down in the description box. Everybody's going to get tested. DNA will be acquired and used for predictive future behavior. connect this right to Denver, where they're running the real world simulation. They're getting ready to update it, not just the way that they've been doing it through chemtrails and real world simulations. They're getting ready to gather that information from each individual. They can only include 70 to 80% of the people in that real world simulation. Using this method, they're going to be able to include everybody. But this again makes me believe that this is all part of the simulation. This is what they've had, just like 9/11, that they had to put in place to get the continuity of government plan instituted, along with the Patriot Act, all this other stuff. Okay, number 2, get vaccinated. Toxins, poisons, not me, ain't happening. Over my dead body, they're going to be doing stuff like this. And DNA altering, this is part of getting all your information in the real world simulation under Denver, so AI can reverse the feed and begin, instead of gathering information from you to put into the simulation, using your sim self and reversing the feed so that you're controllable in the real world. Just imagine the Matrix. It's a real world Matrix that they have underneath the Denver airport, run by AI. These measures are put in place to help AI run a true real world simulation. Get injected with gel tracking tech. Will track location, medicines in your body, not in your body. Will be able to detect if you're becoming ill. Not only that, it's going to give them all the AI all the information they need for identifying threats to the underground Arc City program. In order to access your money, you'd be required to do 3 steps. Now, you guys have heard that Trump was thanking everybody for him being president as if he was passing the ball. Kissinger, the Rothschilds, and Rockefellers, this is who AI is working for.
Of George Washington, who had come down with a bad sore throat one night. To help relieve George of his symptoms, his doctors drained half the blood in his body during the course of the night. That didn't help, so they had George swallow 650 milligrams of mercury, giving him, in effect, a fatal dose of heavy metal poisoning. George Washington died the next day. He was killed by some of the best allopathic doctors in the country, who were treating a case of strep throat. By 1900, much of the public had had enough of these unnatural treatments, and homeopaths were stealing patients away from allopaths at an alarming rate. Around this time, the American Medical Association was formed as a doctors' union to counter the growing power of homeopaths. As a prominent member of the AMA stated, "We have never fought the homeopath on matters of principle. We fought him because he came into our community and got the business." The AMA set out to destroy homeopaths and other competitors. They began branding them as quacks while harassing and slandering them. Backed by big business, which smelled money in allopathic treatments, allopaths were able to change medical school curriculums, graduation requirements, and licensing laws to favor allopaths and drive out any competition. The allopaths emerged as the victors, not because they had better medicine, but because they had made alliances with key business interests, which saw that fortunes could be made with new emerging allopathic medical practices. The development of anesthesia and infection control meant a boon to surgery, and financial interests started investing in hospitals and medical schools. The advent of synthetic drugs meant fortunes could be made because, unlike natural remedies, synthetic drugs could be patented, which brought investors flocking into the pharmaceutical field. Anxious to capitalize on this, the AMA was quick to grant its seal of approval to any drug that was advertised in the AMA Journal. As a result, their advertising revenues soared. Coupled with ads from the tobacco industry, the AMA Journal soon became the most profitable publication in the world. In other words, conventional allopathic medicine's rise to power was due to the drug and tobacco money behind their medicine, not the patients they could heal. And it was profits, not proven medical benefits, that was behind the adoption and widespread use of surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy treatments for cancer. In order to police their marketplace, anyone who tried to practice any non-allopathic form of cancer treatment was quickly branded a quack and put out of business. During the course of the last century, the AMA, aided by the Federal Drug Administration and others, closed down hundreds of facilities which were using promising but non-allopathic cancer treatments. In fact, several treatments had cured thousands of patients. These were well documented, with reputable doctors confirming both the cancers and the cures. In the case against Dr. Max Gerson's nutritional treatments of cancer, Morris Fishbein, the head of the AMA, attacked Gerson for treating cancer patients with diet and warning them against cigarettes. Gerson had written extensive papers on his cancer therapy, which were published in the best European medical journals, but he was blackballed in the US, and only one of his papers was published.
One paper, his first paper, was published, okay, and thereupon the pharmaceutical, especially the medical journals and the medical outfits, blackballed him. And we had word from one of the publishers of a prestigious American medical journal who said, Dr. Gerson, your papers are wonderful, we would love to publish them, but we have been warned by the AMA, if we publish any of your material ever again, no licensed physician will ever contribute to our journal again, which is the end. So he couldn't publish anymore. He would
what I said, and so I had people in the DHS that gave my book to high-level CIA people, directly gave it to the White House, and it was confirmed. And then President Trump turns over and he says, "You do robotics too, right?" So this shows the AI 5G wars. So the next step was publishing this book, Artificial Intelligence to Humanity. Within 2 weeks of doing that, Trump's AI department states China threatens the world with AI, robotics, hypersonic missiles, and so on, cybernetics and bioengineering. So I'm trying to get people to retweet me, support me on social media, because all of the MSM is just blocking me, and some people are just plagiarizing my work, and nobody gets it because everyone's bogged down with the little digital civil war between the left and the right, and I see that the threats are so big, huge. And in the book, I put that China is working on hybrid engineered AI viruses, which I call the biodisease. So come December the 16th, I put in my books how all these companies can be sued, big tech can be sued for all these different crimes, and I'm like, okay, what do? I see that the huge dangers coming to every human being on the planet, not just from viruses, but the interconnection of an event that can trickle down a chain of reactions that affect every human being on the planet and lead to different miseries and atrocities against the human race in stages in the next 20 years. So I ended up suing 29 John Does. I didn't release them, and firstly it was Google, Alphabet LLC, Facebook, Neuralink, and all their CEOs, which include Larry Page, Pakai, and Sergey Brin, and the Facebook CEO as well. I also sued. I also sued PR Newswire because they, including other news outlets, pulled my articles or my press releases coming out in October and November, stating China threatens all the world's citizens with quantum technology and these engineered diseases and so on, and they prevented me from warning the world's people. And I'm working 18, 19, 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. Problem was, as soon as I put out this lawsuit, every person on Twitter, instead of backing me and supporting me and retweeting me, they took parts of my tweets to build their own platforms or make their own content. And I had Zach Voorhees. I'm like, I had him shoot me because I knew.
As you can see, they take symptoms from the regular flu and allergies and they give it to the corona. Like I said in the beginning, this is a chemical, a poison, compounded with a plan. So you need to wake up to that plan. Or say sleep. Here's the pollution in Los Angeles. Most cities have this smart dust and poison. This is the lithium, sulfuric acid, so forth. What more do you need to wake up? Thank you for sharing your time. Thank you for sharing your time. Jedi MatriXmen show back 2020, trying to power the people up. Keep you healthy and strong so your children can grow up and be healthy and strong, and we create a new world, whatever that might be. So I'll do another video, more professional. This is just a live mix that I had to throw together because of time constraints. And as you can see, even with this, there's just tons and tons and tons of information, facts, knowledge, tests that tells you that this is the BS. You need to wake up from that.
The future.
Bring your way to the future. So I'll see you on the other side. You can hit me up directly or indirectly, however you feel, and we try to get this thing going. And I'll probably do meetings and other stuff in between. So let me know your thoughts. Otherwise, remember, you are the power.